This is the Christmas Movie Screenwriter Podcast, episode number 30. Hello and welcome to the Christmas Movie Screenwriter Podcast. I'm your host, Karen McCann. Christmas Movie Screenwriter is a podcast about writing, producing, and selling Christmas movies. You can find a transcript, show notes, and an action checklist on my website. Just go to christmasmoviescreenwriter.com and look for this episode, which is number 30. A quick few words about what I'm working on. It's late November at the time of this recording, so I won't be querying producers again until mid-January. That's based on the advice from my guest today. So I'll focus on my novel. My next step is to format it and find beta readers. And of course, start book 2. And now here is the main segment. Brigitte Kingsley has produced more than 30 feature films, MOWs, and 2 television series. In 2012, Brigitte started a production company, Good Soldier Films, with business partner and husband Andrew Simek, where they continue to make award-nominated films, including Night Cries, Country Crush, and The Man in the Shadows. In 2018, they expanded to create Northern Soul Film Company with Patrick McBreety to produce romances and Christmas films for partners including Super Channel, Hallmark, Up TV, Lifetime, Roku, and Great American Family. Her productions include From Friend to Fiancé, Autumn Stables, Home for Harvest, Mistletoe Magic, A Very Corgi Christmas, and My Boss Wedding, to name a few. In 2020, Brigitte began to write and has produced 5 of her screenplays since, including Christmas by Chance, Unperfect Christmas Wish, Picture Perfect, Romance, The Art of Christmas, and a novel, Christmas. Well, Brigitte, that's quite a resume, and thank you for coming on the Christmas Movie Screenwriter Podcast today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
And I love the backdrop. I love the Christmas tree. You're in the spirit.
Thanks. I'll give you a little fun fact that we actually keep our Christmas tree around all year.
Oh, really?
Just decorate it and then we decorate it. Because our atrium is a very big space and this tree is about like 12 feet tall. So in order to take it out and put it back in, and then we shoot Christmas movies all year, so we end up just kind of keeping it up, and we're the Christmas family. So
wow. How perfect. I mean, this is like meant to be. And you're the big Christmas movie writer, producer, among many genres. But I told the audience a little bit about you, but why don't you take a minute and tell us about yourself and your business?
Sure. It all started where I went to school for theater. I was an actor. And when I graduated, I realized how difficult it was to, to make your way in the industry. So right. I had met Andrew, which is my business partner and my husband. I told him, you know what, if you write a movie, because he was a great writer, I was like, you write a movie, I will figure out how to produce it. And that's kind of how it started. And it took us, I think, 10 years to make that very first movie.
You wrote it or he wrote it?
He wrote it.
Oh, so he wrote it. Okay.
Everything I learned about writing, I learned from my husband.
Oh, that's great.
And then, so we started making these independent movies together, having fun. Like I was acting in them, I was producing them, he was directing and writing them. And then we got to a point where we did this country musical. We're like, you know what? We're going to do something fun, something different. So we made a country musical, which was a little bit in that rom-com genre. And when we finished it, we're like, you know what? We could probably do this genre. And we had an opportunity to do Autumn Stables with Kevin McGarry and Cindy Busby. And that kind of got us rolling into the rom-com Christmas world. And we've been rolling in that sort of department ever since, and still kind of doing some more independent stuff on the side.
Wow, well, that's quite a achievement to go straight from acting and into producing and having a successful shot on your first go. That's fantastic. Good for you.
It took many years. We always joke because we've been together for 20 years now, and I think the first 15 years we were the definition of starving artists, just trying so hard to get a business off the ground and to make our movies. And it took a lot of time, and then eventually if you stay at it long enough, you start.
That's good. Yeah, that's good. That's encouraging. Now, what are some key elements that you look for in a Christmas screenplay that would motivate you to produce it?
We love to produce things that have heart. Honestly, like it always comes down to the script. I know there's different trends at different times that people are looking for, but at the end of the day, it always comes down to the story and the characters and the art that they have. So every project is very different. You know, we always look at it from fresh new eyes. And if the person sent us a script that speaks to us in some way that touches our hearts, then that gets to the top of the pile for sure.
And how can writers, some people say that Christmas movies are formulaic. So how can writers avoid sounding formulaic and make their scripts stand out to you?
You know what? That's a really good question. I think it definitely is a formula. You know, you need all of the regular pieces that make it that genre. Where it comes to life is the character. So you can have the same girl that goes back to her hometown and meets her high school sweetheart where they, butt heads and then they fall in love all over again. You can tell that story a million times, but it's in the specifics of the story. So give your characters, like paint them with extra colors, give them personalities, give them quirks, give them what I like to say is when I personally write, I will always write with I'll give my characters a soul. So let's say my best friend Janice, she has this wonderful soul about her. She's very, lively and she's like a big ball of sunshine. So it's like, let's say I'm writing a character, then maybe I will use her soul
Right.
Character. And so all of her little mannerisms and her characteristics will come alive in that.
Right.
And then the next project, maybe I'll use, I'll be inspired by somebody different, but that's sort of how I look at it.
Do you think you need an antagonist in a Christmas script, or it's not necessary?
I mean, and that's tricky, and it depends who you're writing for, right? So you have to think of the broadcasters, because some broadcasters really stay away from anything that could even potentially have some negative impact. Everything has to be positive, even, it's more of a misunderstanding than it is somebody with ill intent, and then there's other broadcasters that are much more open to, to having a little spice in their
Right. Okay.
As long as at the end of it all, I think the important thing is to have the characters go through an arc and to learn a lesson and to grow from their experience, whatever that experience may be.
And they both, and the leads 1 and 2 both need an arc. Is that correct?
Absolutely. These movies tend to be focused on the female mostly, but I think the more interesting stories are the ones that they both learn something and grow.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Now, how do you find scripts? Do you tend to hire WGA writers or non-union writers?
We tend to go non-union. And we've found them different ways. Sometimes our partners, we'll partner up with a US company and then they'll bring us a script that was written by a specific writer. Sometimes people will submit directly. That's a little trickier. They definitely have to sort of go, it's easier to go through someone only because these movies tend to be very repetitive. And if you just accept everybody's scripts, then all of a sudden, if you make a movie that's similar, which tends to happen because we use the same ideas over and over again.
Right.
So you have to be a little bit careful with direct submissions, but a lot of the time it's word of mouth. Like if you get to know somebody a little bit and then they send you a script, then that helps. Sort of like this conversation,
Right. Now, how does it work? I'm just spitballing here. Are Canadian production companies open to American writers, or is it more like easier to produce with Canadian writers?
I mean, we've done both. In Canada, we do shoot with the tax credit, which means that we do have to be careful how many people outside of Canada we hire, but we have absolutely made it work with US writers.
In that case, does it have to be a 3-way co-production or to get an American writer, or it's not even that complicated?
No, it's not that complicated. It's just all it does is we're on a 10-point system. It just deducts us by 1 point.
Oh, okay. Okay, good.
No big deal.
Glad to hear that. Okay, I'm happy to hear that. Now, what types of Christmas movie scripts is your company targeting for development? Are there themes or settings that you're focusing on?
I think we're looking for something a little bit more original. And I hate to say that in this format, but I think something that's got just a little spark of something different. maybe staying away from the going home, small
Right.
town bakery type of thing, and seeing if there's something, something else out there that I love when stories are inspired by people's own experiences. Like we're all such unique people that have such, incredible experiences of our own that it's like if you sort of pick something that I don't know, that's maybe a little personal to you or whatever. Sometimes it lights up the pages, even if it's in those regular, formula, the regular formula. Sometimes like just having a little spark of something special pops off the stage, off the page. So
And when you are looking at scripts, is it like, okay, we really would love to have X amount of locations, X amount of speaking roles. Is that something that you sort of have in your mind, or is it just like whatever
I
comes
mean,
across?
it depends again, project for project and broadcaster to broadcaster. So obviously there's different budgets. When it's a bigger production, then you can do anything you want. You can shoot in a castle, we'll have a huge, 100-person wedding, and it's not a big deal. I think if for writers that are looking to be picked up by producers, I think it's probably good to have some scripts that do keep in mind budgetary constraints
Right,
because the
right.
budgets right now are tending like they're going down a little bit, which means that we're more cautious of how many locations, how many characters. We're definitely keeping that in mind right now. Having
Mhm.
said that, next year might be different. We've made some movies that had no restrictions, and then we've made some with several restrictions. So as a writer, I mean, I think it's a good exercise to probably have some scripts that are within a higher budget range, and then have some
Mhm.
scripts for production companies that are maybe doing on the lower end of the spectrum.
You talked a little bit about next year. Just curious, how has it been this year, and what are you hoping for next year? Is you think the market's going to contract, going to expand, going to stay the same?
Being completely transparent and completely honest, last year was a very difficult year.
You
We
mean this,
felt
you mean 2024 or
like
2020?
2024. Yeah.
Okay.
So we were, shooting for 2020. We always kind of shoot a little bit the year before.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Um, but it was very difficult in the sense that broadcasters are picking up less content.
Right. Yeah.
There's
Well,
a
yeah.
lot of overflow in the market right now that haven't been sold, that have, recently been picked up. There's been a bit less of a need. So, and the budgets are going down, like, windows that used to be purchased at 400,000 are being purchased at 100,000 or whatever it is. Like there's definitely like a change in the market.
Okay.
So we've had to adapt. And then going into 2025, I mean, we're definitely optimistic that those budgets are going to go back up. And
Mhm.
but it's got to be prepared either way.
Right. Right. How
You
does
know,
speaking of 2025 or just comparing
yeah.
this year, next year, how does Christmas movies compare for the buyers compare to romance? Is one market bigger than the other?
I think there's more slots for Christmas movies.
Okay.
A lot of people tend to pitch, if we're pitching 10 Christmas movies, we might pitch 3 rom-coms.
Interesting.
Just because, the broadcasters are going to air 20 new Christmas movies and they're
Right.
only going to maybe air, a handful throughout the rest of the year. So it's definitely it just has more, it's got more opportunity in the Christmas world for sure.
Now, if you could give advice to your younger self about producing Christmas movies, what would that be?
Um, I would say, in terms of the writing, I would say always try to catch the reader with a very fun, big opening.
Okay.
You want to wow the audience, and you want to wow whoever's reading your script with something that is feels like Christmas and is big. And then you want to end your movie with something that's big and Christmassy, and then have something in the middle, and then the rest, just have some fun weaving stories through the characters. And then just keep writing, keep pitching, keep going. I think the difference between writers that get a deal and writers that don't is really just perseverance.
That's good to
It,
hear.
like I think if you keep pushing enough, eventually the doors open. Um, so it's a numbers game for everybody,
Right,
right?
right, right. Now, is there a particular time of year is the best time to pitch Christmas movies, or is it year round?
Well, right now, like if I'm looking at my company, like right now, we're prepping to shoot in January, February for Christmas 2025. So we're
Oh,
already,
wow.
yeah,
Oh,
we're always a year ahead.
oh,
Um,
that's great.
so sometimes I hear people and they're like, you know what, I've got a great project. I'm gonna start pitching it, and it's June, and with the hopes that it's going to be picked up for for that Christmas. And the
But
truth is,
that Christmas, wow, that's fast, doesn't it? Doesn't
yeah,
that sound fun fast?
it's way too fast. Yeah, it
Yeah,
does
yeah.
happen. Like we shot The Art of Christmas for Great American Family in September, and we actually had it
Wow. Oh
play
my
in December.
goodness.
So it does happen. Having said that, that's usually not the norm. Usually you're always sort of a year ahead of time. Um, and yeah, so
But it's not like the old television, in the old days when there were television writers that were trying to get into a television room. Now, this is totally separate from writing a spec script. But if you wanted to get on a TV series in the old days, I think it was like February, March was the time to pitch or something. Something I can't even remember now. I'm just curious if Christmas broadcasters or buyers, if there's like a
a good
season
window.
season to pitch,
I
or is it
honestly, I think that we were pitching Christmas 2025, when we were at Cannes in October. Now we're going to continue to pitch Christmas 2025 probably until April or so.
great?
So there is a good window, but really like you can pitch Christmas year round,
Okay,
honestly, um, because there's certain people that by January, February, they're locked up for December, but they're like, okay, well, we're going to start looking for the next year.
right.
So you can really pitch year round. The best thing to do is really to find out what people are looking for that year and try to, see what you have that
Mhm.
fits the mandate. Um,
There
you know,
is, someone said on my YouTube channel, they left a comment and they said, "Oh, you can't pitch like starting the beginning or middle of November, and or forget from mid-November and all of December, forget because everyone in LA is on holiday." And I'm like, that's 6 weeks. And I don't know, is that what do you think? Is that like Hollywood
um,
shuts
I
down?
I would agree that it's not the best time to pitch, but for different reasons. I would say that any big broadcaster like Hallmark or Up TV or JC that are airing Christmas movies are so busy with their Christmas
That's true.
season, just
That's true.
promoting and launching like their current slate. And they probably want to know a little bit of how each project does before they 100% commit
Right.
to
That's true.
project. A good idea might be to send something in October and then follow up in like January,
Okay.
mid-January, after
Okay.
they've had an opportunity to kind of digest how their season went, what worked, what didn't, and that usually feeds like their perspective for the following year.
Okay. Um, Now what is the best way for our screenwriters to connect with you and submit their ideas or their scripts?
I think for me, I mean, I'm always on Instagram. So my Instagram is at BEE Kingsley. And sometimes people can submit through my email. If you go on my IMDb, my email address is there as well. You can definitely shoot me. I would say don't send your full script.
Right,
I
of
would
course.
say just kind of say, hey, this is who I am, this is what I'm doing. I think that's kind of a good way to reach out. And if there's no response, just follow up.
Right, right.
And
Now, I just was thinking, you mentioned cons. Do you think there are certain markets that writers should go to put it like that?
absolutely. I think all of the markets that we personally go to are AFM, Cannes, and Banff. And we're in Toronto, so we're at TIFF, which is less, it's not really a market, but I think they're turning it into a market.
Great.
Just really great opportunities to meet producers and to, to pitch your stuff. Because what happens is at those markets, we pitch our ideas. So even if a writer comes to us, and we love their idea, then we would put it in our package
Right.
and we would go and pitch, all of the broadcasters, or distributors, because sometimes you can get an international distributor on board. So you could actually, writers can do the exact same thing we're doing, and just have a package of their ideas and try to pitch them to distribution companies, because we have a lot of partners that just buy scripts as well,
Great. So the writers out there should not just target production companies, but distributors as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh, good to hear. Great. Well, to wrap up, would you like to share any social media details so our audience can keep track of your work? I know you mentioned Instagram.
Instagram is the one I'm on the most.
Okay.
And that's kind of, you can find sort of all of my stuff there.
Okay, great. Well, Brigitte, thank you for sharing your knowledge and your experience. Thank you for coming on the Christmas Movie Screenwriter podcast today.
Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure to talk to you. And I hope you have a very Merry Christmas.
Thanks. And it was great to meet you. And I love the fact that you've got the tree in your house year round. You've got the Christmas spirit. Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.
And now for my action checklist, I have 5 items for your action checklist from my interview with Brigitte. Number 1, infuse your script with a unique spark. Stand out in the crowded Christmas movie market by crafting scripts with rich character development, heartfelt narratives, and an irresistible hook. Take Brigitte's advice, think of a real person with unique traits and translate their personality into characters that feel vividly painted with extra colors. Number 2, prepare for multiple budgets. Develop scripts that cater to both high and low budgets, some productions to expand your opportunities. Number 3, perfect the big moments. Open your script with a captivating scene and end with something unforgettable and Christmassy to leave a lasting impression. Number 4, plan your pitch timing strategically. Avoid contacting Christmas movie buyers during their busiest evaluation period in late November and December. Instead, use this time as a window of opportunity to start your next script and plan to follow up with pitches in mid-January when they are ready to consider new projects. And I am going to take this advice to heart. Number 5, pitch to distributors, not just producers. Don't limit your queries to production companies. Distributors are also in the market to buy scripts. Brigitte emphasized the importance of reaching out to distribution companies to expand your opportunities. Now, what are the advantages to this? And I've got 5 big ones. A, direct market access. Distributors have strong relationships with networks, broadcasters, and streaming platforms, which gives them insight into what buyers are actively seeking. They can match your script to current market demands more effectively. B, global reach. Distributors often operate on an international scale, opening doors to markets beyond what a producer might focus on, increasing the potential for your script to sell worldwide. C, increased opportunities. While producers are responsible for creating films, distributors are often looking for prepackaged or easily adaptable projects they can push to broadcasters. This dual focus expands the number of potential buyers for your work. D, risk mitigation. Distributors typically work with projects they are confident they can sell. If a distributor is interested in your script, it often signals strong market viability. E, year-round demand. Distributors are less tied to seasonal production schedules compared to producers, allowing for pitching opportunities throughout the year, particularly for evergreen content like Christmas movies. By targeting distributors, writers can tap into a broader network and benefit from their sales expertise and market reach. Well, that's the show. Thank you for listening. To show your support, please give us a 5-star rating on wherever you get your podcasts. And you can fuel more great content by buying me a hot cocoa. Just go to Buy Me a Coffee and look for the page Christmas Movie, and explore other inspiring podcasts and blogs on our website at christmasmoviescreenwriter.com. I'm your host, Karen McCann. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you on the next Christmas Movie Screenwriter podcast. Bye.